Hey, did you happen to get a call from Luchasaurus this week?
Yeah, I did. Did you get a call from him?
I did. It was the weirdest thing. How did the conversation go with you guys?
Well, I mean, it was kind of short because like I was actually getting tail while he was phoning asking about his tail, so I kind of cut him off.
Right. I did the same thing. I was actually watching Jurassic Park at the time. All those dinosaurs have tails, so I felt really awkward talking about finding his tail. But I'm confused because he's been tail whipping wrestlers on Dynamite all year long. Like, figure it out, bud. When did he lose his tail? Anyways, I gave him Tommy Dreamer's number and hung up on him.
Good idea.
Good idea. All right.
The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
With your hosts, Jeff and Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How's it going this week, buddy?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing great. We have an extraordinarily big episode. I know I keep saying that every week, but this is an extraordinarily big episode this week. We got 3 parts of BTE. We have one really long match on AEW Dark. We have a quick breaking kayfabe section. We have a little bit bigger of a scoop of vanilla. And then we got, of course, AEW Dynamite. That was on Wednesday. We got a lot to get through. I just want to remind everybody to like the video, think about subscribing, hit that notification bell, leave comments below on how you think the show is going. We'd very much love to get into some conversations with you guys. Still looking forward to doing that. And if you need to be up to date on what's going on with the podcast, we are both on Twitter at Impromptu Jeff and at Impromptu Damien. So check us out on Twitter. We'll talk with you there. We'll get it all going on. Let's talk some wrestling. But let's get into this gigantic show this week as we get into part 1 of episode 199 BTE. This was a cool episode, this part. It was the longer of the 3. We had some matches. We had some matches carrying on from episode 198. And the whole episode starts off with the rules of a squash match, which I just loved this whole section. What did you think of this?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think it was a good pick to have Matt Hardy do it because he does it in his Matt Hardy way, and it sort of set up for the actual match, which was the next segment.
I enjoyed the rules themselves because it's just like if you had to make a bit out of the rules of a squash match, they nailed it. You know, it's just like they can only get one offensive move each. They get one tandem offensive move. They can only tag in once, you know, and you can't be more tanned than the over guys, and the whole skit was just perfect. I was slapping my knee, laughing at these jokes. It was really good. And then we go right into the squash match, and it's exactly what it was. You know, we had SCU being represented by Kazarian and Christopher Daniels against Team High Risk, which, again, sign these guys. They're great. They can job, they can wrestle, they can do it all. What did you think of the match itself? I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match, and I like how they stayed true to the rules and all of that. Mm-hmm. If you follow it, it was your typical squash match.
Yeah. The other rule, the last rule of the squash match is that the over guys can only win the match with one of 3 legendary tandem moves, being the the D-Day, Demolition, and I can't even remember what the other ones were, but SCU does, Road Warriors, D-Day up in the Blockbuster, the flip over, 1, 2, 3. They did exactly what the rules said they were going to do. I thought that was such a good touch. It was really good.
Yeah, I think Acolytes were one of the moves.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I'm surprised the Magic
I forget what the
wasn't
other ones.
in there.
Yeah.
Being how close they are to those guys. The club.
Right.
There were some other kind of arbitrary bits, as always. We kind of had some classic BTE vlog stuff with Matt talking about, his family in the ring out in the tennis courts. The kids looked like they were having fun. You got a little, vignette of Matt's kids kicking his ass in the ring, and he's letting them give him DDTs. I thought that was cool. We got
sign those kids up.
Yeah, no doubt. That tornado DDT looks great.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah, it's good shit. We had another Luchasaurus bit, very much similar to what we've been seeing. He just calls up Jungle Boy, and Jungle Boy's not talking again, and it was what it was. He basically talks himself into a resolution for his problem. We get another Colt Cabana, Kenny Omega bit. Standard bit with those guys. We go back to Luchasaurus calling Tommy Dreamer. I'm sorry, Tommy, for giving your number away, but I didn't need to talk to this guy anymore. He needs to figure it out, Luchasaurus. Yeah. We get another Peter Avalon, Brandon Cutler bit, FaceTiming. It was your fault you lost the match. No, it was your fault. Classic stuff. It was great. I'm just trying to burn through this as fast as we can. But here's the interesting part of the episode is it's Hangman. He's laying down on his couch. He's kind of looking sad and depressed a little bit. He's got his whiskey going, I believe. It looks like he's scrolling through Twitter, and a tweet pops up from Private Party. And it says something about, like, it's always the same with you. How can we rob Hangman? And Hangman's like, what the hell's this shit? So then he makes a call. He's like, hey, I got a job for you. Like, where do you think they're going with this?
At this point, I had no idea who this person could be. I think the only idea I really had was, I think on Twitter at this time, if you look at the timeline, he's tweeting a Jeff.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's a guy that does like the video packages and graphics and stuff for AEW.
Oh, okay.
So I thought maybe it was related to that. I think we find out later on that wasn't the case, though.
Right. Okay. Yeah, those tweets kind of make more sense now.
Did you have an idea of?
No, I have no idea where they're going with this, but I'm assuming he's trying to hire some kind of hitman or security detail to protect him from Private Party because they want their $12 back or whatever it was from when he stole some drinks off them or whatever it was. Or did they buy him drinks? I can't remember, but just continuing on with that storyline. What else did we have? We had another match. We had because of during the Peter Avalon Brandon Cutler FaceTime, they bring in Scorpio Sky. I forgot to mention this. And Scorpio basically says, you guys are both losers and I can take you on at the same time. And they kind of make this match, and I was kind of hoping that this would lead into the next episode. At this time, we don't know it's going to be a 3-part episode. I'm thinking, BTE 200, we'll get this match, but it happens right away. So I'm thinking right away, I'm like, oh, Scorpio's got to pin them both at the same time, right? Like, that's how it's got to end. Sure as shit. That's exactly how it ends.
Yeah.
But again, we've been gassing these 3 guys up. Well, everybody who's been wrestling on BT, we've been gassing up. They're doing a great job with what they're dealing with. They got 2 cameras. I think one's being filmed on an iPhone. Rick Knox is around, so he's reffing. These matches have all been great, and this specifically, this triple threat match was amazing. Like, these are three guys that are very familiar with each other, and it works. Like, I really enjoyed this triple threat match, as, goofy as it was. What did you think?
Yeah, I think that some of these matches they're doing on BT are even better than what they're doing on Dark right now.
Some
Not
of them
this
are.
week's Dark. This week's Dark was a really good match, but with the local guys they're using on Dark, like,
Yeah.
you can tell professional versus someone who's still kind of in the learning phase for sure.
Yeah. And just to go back to that Team High Risk, like, those guys obviously haven't had the chance that maybe they deserve, being the way they look, a bit smaller guys, but you can tell they've been wrestling for 10, 15 years. Like, you can just see that professionalism, like you said. And, with these three guys being Brandon Cutler, Peter Avalon, and Scorpio Sky, like, they made this match flow. And you'd think, with not having any, being on TV and really worried about working to the hard camera and stuff like that it might be more loose and botchy in a way. But these matches are super tight.
Yeah.
And they're hitting all their spots. They're all in the right spots at the right time. Nobody's waiting for anybody. The timing is great. Like, I've been enjoying BTE this week.
Yeah, same here.
All right, let's move on to... we get Luchasaurus calling Joey Ryan. Joey Ryan making his comeback to BTE. We've been missing him. I liked his bit, being like, why are you worried about losing your tail? Like, I was dead. I came back from the dead. You can come back from losing your tail. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And then we get Nick and Matt working out in the garage again, and Nick just perpetuating that he wants this big match, and Matt knows exactly the one he wants, and they're still not really telling us what this match is at this point, but building this story. Again, exciting stuff going into what we think is going to be BTE 200. But very next day, it's Tuesday afternoon, and we get Being the Elite 199 Part 2. What did you think of this whole, it ends up being a trilogy, but what did you think of splitting this 199 episode up?
Like, at the time I thought it was kind of weird. I was expecting the second part to be 200 and happen next week. But I guess they had more of a story to tell this week to lead up into that one. Then seeing a third part, I'm like, geez, how many parts are there going to be? I was totally expecting another one today, actually.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they would have did all 5 days, have 5 parts to the episode.
Yeah.
It ended up only being 3, which is fine. Like, I get it, but I mean, you're on episode 202 now. Like, I'm waiting for episode 202. You can't argue with me.
Right.
So we get Matt Hardy, broken Matt Hardy again, explaining the rules to Under the Limit Battle Royale, which is kind of playing on the over the budget Battle Royale that we had at All Out or All In. What else we had? Another goofy Battle Royale, the Casino Battle Royale, going into like Double or Nothing. They had a goofy name for it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyways, basically we're going to get a Battle Royal at the end of the episode, and the stipulation is that the winner of the Battle Royal is going to have his choice of the match for the main event of BTE 200. And we get bits, showing SEU talking about what numbers they drew, which is really cool, and they kind of, did it sly and kind of goofy, which I mean was funny. CD was there the whole time, and he's just like, "Hey, you guys, we need to talk about our numbers. Like, what are we gonna do?" And they're like, "Yeah, we already talked about this."
Yeah.
Then we get some updates on Private Party. They finally submitted some footage, I guess, if you will, of their quarantine life. And they have a little backyard brawl with, I'm assuming, one of their buddies. He looks like he knows how to wrestle. I've never seen this guy before. Didn't even catch his name. But, I mean, it looks like he knows how to move a little bit. What did you think this whole segment of Private Party kind of tag teaming on their buddy?
Yeah, like I thought the whole thing was shot really well. It was really, really well done. While I was watching it the first time, kind of racking my brains trying to think, should we know who this? I didn't catch it if it was EJ or AJ. Trying to remember like if we ever saw this person before. I don't think we have.
I don't think we have either. Yeah.
But yeah, he walks in the backyard, and it sounds like it's his house.
Right.
And Private Party is just sitting in his backyard, and then they kind of turn on him, and this really cool kind of backyard match takes place.
Yeah, they're bouncing off the fence, pretending it's ropes, and they had a chair there to do the gin and juice finishing move, which they probably obviously couldn't do, but very clever editing made it look really good. Like,
Yeah,
probably better than them actually doing it in the ring and the production crew messing up the cut. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it was
Yeah,
done
yeah.
way better. Yeah, I thought this was cool. And then we get a little goofy joke at the end where there's another knock at the fence, and it's just this bear. It's a big teddy bear, and the teddy bear gets one over on them. Thought that was cool. Is this the call that Hangman made? Did he send a stuffed teddy bear after Private Party? Like,
right. Or is it the guy that's like looks like he's hiding behind a air conditioner or something, all painted face? Like, is that
yeah,
EJ?
I forgot.
Or is that
yeah.
the guy he called? Like,
Yeah, who knows, right?
I'm thinking either the bear he called or it was this guy.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the guy hanging out behind the AC unit. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I paused it and I'm like looking. Kind of looks like it could be that EJ guy, but they just kicked the crap out of him. So
Right.
I don't know.
Could be a new character that EJ's playing, just for the sake. But I'm kind of excited to see where they're gonna go with this.
Yeah, based on this, I want to see some Private Party every week in BT doing this kind of stuff. It was really entertaining.
Yeah, very much so. We get another boring kind of segment between Britt Baker, Tony Schiavone, and they bring in the gypsy guy. I can't even pronounce his name. You have troubles with the Japanese girls' names. I don't know. Can you pronounce this guy's name?
It doesn't matter what
exactly. Your accent sucks, and your bits suck too. Let's move on. Luchasaurus has another nightmare. He's sleeping. He has a nightmare. We get more Tyra Valkyrie. She's kind of looking ominous. She's got a knife out, threatening to cut off his tail. So I don't know where this whole story is going, but I mean, it's sort of making this a little bit better.
Yeah.
But we get another Omega Colt Cabana bit. Kenny really needs to use the bathroom. Colt's in there. He's got the door locked. Pretty standard stuff from those guys. And then we get the main event of part 2. We get this battle royale. Flashing back to the start of the episode, we know it's going to be Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian going to start the match. I mean, for the 7 or 8 guys that they had around to pull this little battle royale off, I thought it turned out really good.
Yeah, so did I. I think there 9 in total, something like that. But just like every match they've had on BT, it came off really, really well. And we get the finish that I don't think I was expecting, but again, after it happened, I was just like, now I see where this is going. He gets to pick his match, which is what he's been wanting.
Right. Yeah, it all kind of makes sense. I don't think we knew that Nick was going to be in this match per se. When you kind of see that we're at this compound and the people who have been having the matches in these rings, you kind of assume he might be in there. But once you finally do see him, yeah, the picture's clear, and of course he's going to go over. I like the whole bit where he, after Scorpio Sky gets eliminated and he's shooting basketball, and he comes in, he starts crossing him up and, just totally schools him in one-on-one and then gives him a super kick. And they did the whole bounce off the tennis net. I thought it was just all great.
Yeah.
One of the rules to the Battle Royale is that the jobbers can enter 2 at a time. And sure enough, we get Team High Risk entering at the same time. And they didn't last very long. But I think they lasted a bit longer than CD did, eh?
Yeah. Matt, if they sign these guys, maybe they have to call them the jobbers. That'll be their gimmick.
They could totally pull it off, I bet. I mean, we had the Job Squad back in the day, early, like, Attitude Era WWE. So, I mean, it's been done before, but maybe it's time for a Job Squad again where the jobbers all get together and, maybe they'll get some wins. Like, if you had to pick an AEW Job Squad faction, you got to think Brandon and the Librarian are going to be in it, right?
They'd be the leaders.
They got to be the leaders, and the whole gimmick would be them fighting over who's actually the leader, and then you got Team High Risk, like, just looking at each other like, why are we following these guys?
They still don't win, though.
But they still don't
win. But the people under them do.
Yeah! That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. So, yeah, Nick Jackson wins the under the limit Battle Royale. Really stiff looking suplex to the apron on the outside. I'm surprised they're doing this in their time off, but big bump for the final blow of the.
Especially when Matt has a bad back apparently.
Right, yeah. So we know Nick is challenging Matt to an Anywhere Goes no disqualification match.
Yeah, that's what Nick said. Anywhere Goes. I think he meant something else.
Maybe like a false count anywhere? Is that what he was thinking?
Yeah, Anywhere Goes.
Anywhere Goes.
I've never heard a match called that, but sure, let's
and I mean, as we get into part 3 of episode 189, they kind of, I don't know, was it meant? Because they kind of make jokes about that. Like, what does this even mean? Anywhere Goes.
Yeah.
But at the time that it was, mentioned at the end of this episode, I'm thinking they're gonna try to do something along the lines of what we saw at WrestleMania. Do you think they're gonna do this kind of cinematic style, tight camera shots? They're going to be all over their yards and through the tennis courts, and I feel like this is going to be a combination parody almost of the Boneyard match, the Firefly Funhouse, and the Orton Edge match that we saw at WrestleMania. Like, I can't help but think these guys are going to poke fun at these kind of cinematic matches that we're about to see, or that we saw previously.
Yeah, I never thought about it, but you're right. They usually do like to kind of do a parody or poke a little bit fun of what WWE is doing. I think that would be cool, because usually when they do something, they take it up that another notch. They do it a little bit better. So it would be interesting to see what kind of creative things they come up with.
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking that it would be more like they would go back to their roots, and it would be like when they had their dad's ring in the backyard, and they'd have, like, it would kind of look like those that footage that they were showing in part 3.
So, like, instead of having actual tables, they're gonna have the planks of drywall,
just garbage, and
that'd be cool. Yeah, interesting to see what they're gonna do next week on BTE. As we get into part 3, this is basically just a build of this big match that's coming up. It's almost it's almost a parody of themselves, the way they built the Hager Moxley match that we're going to talk about later in the show today. They just had everybody there kind of, filling in like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. These guys are brothers. My favorite part of this whole thing is Kazarian just like, oh, there's no love lost between these two guys. I once heard Matt call Nick a dick, and like, he's just like not playing along. Like, he's just, I don't know. I thought it was so clever. Like, what did you think of the whole build to this BTE 200 match?
Yeah, I thought this part had some really good shtick in it, and the way that it was filmed, and then having the return of a lot of the people that have been on BT. I think really the only notable guy that wasn't there was probably Adam Cole.
Right.
But obviously he can't be. But having Marty back, and that is true. Yeah.
Rest in peace.
So that would. I mean, Joey Ryan came back from the dead, so I mean, they could have wrote that in.
They could write that in. That's true.
Yeah.
Good call.
But the whole thing with this is gonna be the biggest match of our careers, and then Brandon keep reminding them, well, what about this match? And then I think by the end of it, it was like the 9th biggest match of their career or something like that. And then some of the interviews were funny with the Hangman bits where he just did
not even saying anything, right?
Yeah. It's like he doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, it was like you mentioned, some faces we haven't seen in a while. We got Marty Scurll, and he does a little bit. He's like, I don't even know who you're talking about. Those guys are dead to me. Like, because that was the whole ending of Marty Scurll's character on BTE, is that they were starting this new company, but he had just signed a new contract to Ring of Honor, so he's pissed off at them that they're all leaving on him, so they were all dead to him. So keeping that up. Good to see Marty Scurll back. We got to see Flip Gordon. He's like, hey, I wonder if I can get booked on BTE 200, keeping his character going. It was all just really well done. And like I said, Frankie Kazarian was kind of a standout, where he's just like making up bullshit about the Young Bucks. Scorpio overcome by emotion. He can't do the sorry, I need a second, and he goes and paces around his kitchen for a little bit. Like, fuck man, I enjoyed this better than the other two episodes.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good. And then hey, we talked about this, how you couldn't. We talked about this last week, how you mentioned being excited for when the young Jacksons get into wrestling, and we get a little sneak peek at Matt's, I'm guessing his older son, but Matt's asking him like, hey, who's gonna win this match? And before he can even finish, he's like, Uncle Nick.
And he kept straight faced.
He straight faced it hard. I wonder how many takes it took, but I'm guessing this is a one take Jake type situation. But Uncle Nick's winning this match. He's way better than you, Dad. That was really great. So excited.
And I'll just remind you, not to take this any longer, but I think in episode 2 or 3, I brought up that at some point we are going to get a Young Bucks separation and possible match. Now, I don't think they're going to split up over this. This is obviously, just a storyline to fill the time, but, I think it will happen at some point. And if it's even half as awesome as this, it's going to come off really good.
Well, there was no real, dramatic conflict between the two. It was this is just the story of like one brother wanting to prove to his older brother that, I'm okay and I can do this, which is a fine story. It's really compelling, and we're all enjoying it. I think when the time comes for them to actually split up, and there's some tension there, maybe one turns their back, like I'm not sure how they can do it 100 different ways. We've seen so many of these kind of brother story archetypes happen in movies, you know, but I think when that real conflict happens, it's just going to escalate this match, and it's going to mean even more when it does happen. But
Yeah.
definitely credit to you for calling that we're going to see this Nick versus Matt Jackson match. So good on you. Let's keep the show rolling. Let's get right into our one match episode of AEW Dark. We had one 20-minute match between Shawn Spears and Billy Gunn, with Austin Gunn on the sideline. Why did I say that so weird? Kind of in Billy's corner is the term we use in wrestling. What did you think?
Is this the first time we've seen Austin?
No, we've seen
Like in a coming to the ring capacity, like not just kind of in the back, or
I've only seen Austin one other time besides being kind of out in the crowd in these like backstage trailer segments. The Gun Club as a tag team had a match against some jobbers on Dark back in December or something.
Oh, okay.
So like before we were doing the show, but definitely we know who Austin is and and whatnot, but we're seeing more of him.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's coming.
As far as I know, he's still not signed, according to Chris Jericho. So we'll see.
What'd you think of this match?
I thought it was too long. I got really bored with it. But I mean, when you look at Billy Gunn, he's one of the biggest guys on the roster. He's one of the biggest guys they have, you know. Now that we have a Lance Archer and stuff like that, but there's some more diversity. But he is a big guy, and he kind of played the big guy role in this match. Really bullies Shawn Spears in a lot of the match. But I just think it was too long. Like, I understand that they needed kind of a 20-minute match because maybe they didn't have anything else planned. You know, usually Dark's an hour. This was only a 25-minute long episode or whatever. Just the one match, so maybe it needed to be a little bit longer. But I just think they dragged it out in a really awkward way. Well, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would agree that it was long. I was kind of watching it while I was doing some other things, so maybe I didn't feel the longness probably as much as you're describing. But I thought the wrestling was really good. It was good to see Billy Gunn, and my first thought was, you know, with the limited people they have, you know, I think he needed to kind of step up and get in the ring. And because we were saying last week about how they need to spice it up. It's getting a little bit monotonous seeing the same people all of the time. So it was nice to see somebody different.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
And yeah, it was just interesting that there was just the one match. It seems like every week we're getting less and less matches on Dark. But if they're pre-taped, how many can they have in the bank? Like,
well, I'm starting to think that, you know, with Dark kind of always being pre-taped, and now that we're getting our Dynamites pre-taped, it's very obvious if you pay close attention to while you're watching Dynamite that a lot of these matches aren't even being filmed on the same nights and stuff like that. I mean, we'll talk about that later, but yeah, when you have everything kind of pre-taped and you're trying to plan out shows in the future, you almost don't want to waste a lot of these matches on Dark, where you can stretch out Dynamite for longer. So I totally get that the one match for Dark, and this will probably be a trend going forward, that maybe Tuesday night Darks, I could foresee Dark starting to show old matches.
I was thinking that too, or like, you know how they do in TV shows where they have like flashback shows. Like I feel like at some point we're probably going to see one of those happen.
Yeah, and which I'm not mad at. Like I would very much like to see, you know, Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers in the ladder match at All Out or Full Gear, whichever one it was. I'd love to see that match again. So
And even with some analysis, some breakdown from the guys themselves.
yeah, they could
You know.
really make a whole new series almost to fill the time in instead of Dark itself. So
Yeah.
but otherwise, decent match. A little long for me. It got a little stale, but you can't go wrong with Sean Spears and Billy Gunn, man. These are two vets and two big guys, and they beat the piss out of each other. Like, it was a hard-hitting match. Some of those chops, like, I had to turn the volume down. You know what I mean? Like, it was a hard-hitting match. So good stuff from there. Like I said, hopefully we're not running out of matches. Hopefully Dark stays a thing, but I can totally foresee them starting to show some old matches and doing like you said, analysis from the people who are in it, kind of switching back and forth, flashback style episodes. Could totally see them doing that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Breaking Kayfabe. We had some sad news this week as legendary Hall of Fame worthy, I believe he is in the Hall of Fame, ring announcer Howard Finkle had passed away earlier this week. I believe it was Thursday. Sad news. This is one of the most respected ring announcers, I think, in all of the history of wrestling. You can't ask anybody in the business today, who's Howard Finkle, and them not know who it is, and if not, have an impression of this guy. Well, what are your memories of Howard Finkle, if any?
You know what? I really see it as like it's a voice of a generation. You can't really think of wrestling without that voice.
Right.
So
very distinct.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's one of the most imitated ring announcers. He might be the only imitated, because his voice was that unique.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Talking Shop podcast. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and they loved doing the Howard Finkle bit. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't not do that impression. He's a legend, and imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I'm sure everybody in the wrestling world is very sad to see a legend go, and our deepest condolences go out to the Finkle family and the wrestling family as a whole. We're gonna miss you. We're gonna miss you, Howard.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into a scoop of vanilla. Also, very sad news coming out of the world of WWE. It happens every year. A couple weeks after WrestleMania, WWE kind of sits down and kind of goes through their list, and they get rid of some of the excess, I don't want to say baggage. It's very poor, term, but we've seen this before. They call it like Black Wednesday or Black Friday kind of thing, depending on what day it ends up landing on. But WWE always kind of does this mass firing after WrestleMania. But this year is a little different with the whole worldwide pandemic situation we're all going through, people not able to land on their feet per se, because there is no other work generally being produced right now. So it came off really awkward to the wrestling world that WWE went forward and released as many talent as they did. What
is this the most that we've ever heard? Like, it seemed like a lot to me.
I think this is the most. Usually it's like 5 or 6, maybe 10. But I mean, we're in talent alone, I think we're looking at like 20. Never mind all the backstage personnel, writers, production crew, like they're looking at the firings to be within the hundreds.
Oh wow, I never even
Yeah.
heard about that stuff. I just more heard about the wrestlers themselves.
Yeah, so a lot of the like backstage personnel were furloughed. That's a term that I've only ever put, to mean something about getting a day off from jail where you get to go like to a funeral or something like that. So I'm not sure really what furlough means in the business world, but apparently it's like a leave of absence with a discussion of being hired back when things become economically better, I guess, is the way I understood how things were being explained. But a lot of the actual in-ring talent, which we're going to list off here in a minute, they lost their jobs with no ability or no options to work anywhere else at the moment, which is really sad. Some people were receiving a 30-day kind of severance package. I believe all these contracts have no compete clauses tied to them, which is even worse. Like you can't even talk to anybody about getting signed for when everything blows over. So yeah, really, really sad day. Black Wednesday, as a lot of people are calling it this year. Let's just quickly run through some of the names that were on the chopping block here. We had Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Eric Young, EC3, Leo Rush, Kurt Angle, Sarah Logan, Mike Chioda, Primo and Epico Cologne, Rowan, Mike and Maria Kanellis, Zack Ryder, No Way Jose, Rusev, Diona Perazzo, and Alexander Jaksic, NXT guy, I believe. But and I think
some huge names there,
some big names, and I think that's just a handful of them. I think there was even more. You can look at the backstage personnel that were like furloughed, as I mentioned. We had Billy Kidman, Fit Finlay, Lance Storm. Lance Storm just started working for the WWE again like 2 months ago. Like it's crazy. So lots of big names. Are there any names out there that stand out to you that like just like how could these guys be let go?
I am shocked about like the talent that was let go, but for a lot of them, they weren't even using them anyways. So like, let's take Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Like those are top quality guys, and they never use them.
And
they probably have pretty.
And when they did use them, they didn't use them properly.
Right. EC3.
Oh
that guy could have been the next Rock.
He should
never
be the
them.
next Rock.
Just so I'm not shocked, but I'm shocked.
Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Like you could argue they just main evented WrestleMania and lost their jobs a week and a half later. Like, that's mind-boggling. They just signed big 5-year, $750,000 per year contracts to go alongside AJ Styles' 5-year quadrillion-dollar contract that he had. You know what I mean? Like, how do you just decide to let that kind of talent go? Like you mentioned, EC3, like this guy turned everything. They gave him shit. They shoveled him shit in the 5-6 years that he was in WWE and NXT, and he turned everything into gold, whatever he did. very visually unhappy with while he was doing it, but that was part of the gimmick almost, which got it over between us. I know we talked about it all the time when he was in these goofy segments. Do you remember that food fight they had 4th of July a couple years ago? And everybody's fighting, and he's just sitting there sipping his Solo cup, and he looks at the camera like, "What the?" Like that. That was so good.
Yeah.
EC3. I should mention he posted out a kind of a self-shot promo reaction to the release, and he's already set himself up. He's gonna land on his feet whenever things blow over. I could very well see him going back to Impact, where he was a champion. He was a world champion in Impact. I'm sure Don Callis would love to get his hands back on him.
Oh yeah.
Do you think EC3 could land in AEW? Realistically?
I would like to see it, but I don't know. I think they already have that kind of guy.
MJF, right?
Yeah. But like even that level, like we have the Cody and the Jericho, I think he might get lost in that mix. Like unless they were going to step aside, then yeah, bring him in and then make him that guy.
I can see them. They could totally repackage him. He doesn't need to be the 1%, the top 1% guy anymore, which was very much a character he did in Impact and exactly what they did with him in NXT, which I don't think Vince ever got, which is why we never saw that character in WWE. But you could totally repackage EC3. Like I said, the guy takes everything he's handed and turns it into gold. I think AEW needs another big guy, like I mentioned, besides Lance Archer and Billy Gunn. Like, who's the real big guys? Luchasaurus? The guy can't even hang on to his own tail. Like, you can't rely on him to play a big man role, and EC3 is a big man. So we could use another big, bulky, shredded up guy. Wardlow needs to work with somebody, you know what I mean? So I could see it. It's not likely, but I would like to see EC3 in AEW for sure.
Guess it depends how long this no compete clause is, and then how long the world situation is going to go on for, and then how does the economy kind of bounce back? Because I'm thinking these guys are going to expect to be paid a certain amount, considering they've been on the big show,
right?
And can these smaller promotions handle that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Can Impact pay him? I'm sure AEW could pay, but Tony's a smart guy, right?
Yeah,
he's a money guy. Are they just gonna throw out all the money? I don't see him doing that.
And they have said, Cody said it, Tony's said it, the Young Bucks have said it. We're not looking just to pick up every WWE castaway, but I think EC3 might be one of those guys that you'd want to at least give a call.
Yeah,
see where his head's at.
I would blow up if just one day he appeared on the show. I'd be like going crazy.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing I'd like to mention is that Carl Anderson tweeted out a little teaser clip today. I believe it was earlier today. It was this little video package of like a plane taking off. Words come up on the screen, Santa Monica. It's landing in Tokyo, Japan. Machine Gun, which was his nickname in the Bullet Club back in the day. So it looks like Carl Anderson is heading back to New Japan, which is great. Those guys were more over than anybody, the original, the OG Bullet Club. So I think Carl Anderson is going to be okay with that, and I would not be surprised if Luke Gallows followed him. What do you think the club's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, those guys will do well anywhere they go. I think Japan's an obvious choice because, again, if there's that no compete clause, it's not like they can just, go somewhere in North America. I could see those guys going to AEW, and I think I saw that they've already been in conversation through Twitter with these guys.
Okay.
I can't remember who responded to Luke Gallows or Carl Anderson, but there was a reference to Bullet Club in there. So that would obviously fit. And if they could do a Bullet Club, I don't know what they're on now, 3.1. that would be, that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, like Jericho in his last run with WWE became very, very good friends with the club, with Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. He allowed them to kind of take over Talk is Jericho and do the Talk and Chop podcast, which those are some of the most highly downloaded episodes of Talk is Jericho. So I could totally see that the minute this news broke and those two names popped up on the list, Jericho was calling Tony Khan and say, give these guys a call and at least see where their head's at, because that's big. Those are big names and really good workers to have on the roster. So, all right, so yeah, big news coming out of WWE. Many firings. Well wishes to all these guys. We hope you land on your feet, and we can't wait to see you on TV soon. We hope. All right. But let's keep the show rolling here. Let's get into this week's power rankings for April 15th, 2020. What do we got going on?
Again, not a lot of change over the past month, really. So really the only changes we have here are in the men's division. So Jake Hager is still staying at the number 1 contender spot. Cody moved up 1 to number 2. Jericho falls to number 3. And Omega and Allen stay at 4 and 5. In the women's division, we're no change from last week. So we have Shida at number 1, followed by Statlander, Sakazaki, Baker, and Riho. In the tag team division, a little bit of change here. We had Dark Order still the number 1 contenders, followed by the Young Bucks. Best Friends move up 2 positions to number 3. SCU falls 1 position to number 4, and the Lucha Bros fall 1 position to number 5.
Good stuff.
We're not seeing a lot of these guys, which is a lot of the reason I'm thinking we're not seeing a lot of movement in the standings.
Right. Like when you take a look at the women's division, really the only 2 continual people we're seeing are Britt Baker and Shida. So I can only assume that maybe in the weeks to come that we're going to see Britt Baker move up a little bit, as we're not seeing Statlander, Riho, and Sakazaki as much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the tag team division's pretty much been stagnant for the last 3 weeks, and every week that goes by, it seems like Jericho just drops a little bit, and the next guy takes his place, because Jericho's not wrestling right now either. So pretty standard stuff coming out of the power rankings.
Yeah, one thing I don't think we had planned to talk about is that this week they have kind of advertised that Double or Nothing is going to happen.
Yep.
What do you think that is going to look like? Are we going to get some people back for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to, how they're going to handle this. I don't think they've filmed Double or Nothing yet, much like how WrestleMania was kind of all pre-taped a few weeks ahead. I mean, we're still a month out from Double or Nothing. But I'd have to think that Tony Khan would do everything he could, or at least the creative minds are flowing right now to see how they can manage to get everybody around the Atlanta area or the Jacksonville area to get this thing filmed. Yeah, I have no idea how they're gonna pull this off, but they're advertising it. They're ready to go. They're saying it happens. They did, cancel the MGM Grand show, MGM Grand as a an entity themselves canceled all events for like the next couple months. So AEW really didn't have a choice at that point. It wasn't going to happen in Vegas, which it sounds like much like WrestleMania in the early days was always like Madison Square Garden, for the first couple years or whatever. That Vegas is kind of going to be the spot for Double or Nothing. The couple of the adverts, the guys are saying like this is the show, this is the big show, kind of comparing it to, a WrestleMania. Is Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing might be the WrestleMania. I feel like it's the Labor Day show all out. I don't get how they're gassing up Double or Nothing so much when I feel like all out, the Labor Day weekend show is their big show, but that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, I hope we see everybody back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you have a pay-per-view and you don't have a women's title match.
Yeah.
That'll be weird.
We need to see some sort of build to it. So you got to think they got to get Nyla Rose. They got to start doing something. Maybe that's what they need to do in Dark.
Are these guys not able to travel from state to state? Like, I get you can't fly, but I mean, they could be driving.
Yeah, I don't like. I like taking Nyla Rose for example. She's from the Baltimore, DC area, I believe. So I mean, America's quite small in the big scheme of things. Like when you think state to state, like a drive from DC to Georgia is probably just like us driving to Edmonton. That's half a day's worth of drive. So you got to think it's possible, but then again, I don't know what the laws are right now. Like they could have every major highway, state line blocked off. The states are a little bit more strict right now compared to Canada with the whole travel bans and stuff like that. So I really have no idea what they're gonna do or how they're gonna do it, but I believe in them.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get right into this week's Dynamite episode, April 15th, 2020. Again, we're getting Chris Jericho and Tony Schiavone on commentary, which is great. These guys are the biggest surprise of the last couple of weeks and how well they're making these shows come off. Really enjoying it. Start off the show with a Jake the Snake Roberts promo, just like last week. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, good as always. He captivates me. I'm always listening and focusing on what it is. And this week was just another buildup of, Lance Archer and how he's going to dominate. And, Cole Cabana is just another chapter in the tale of, Lance Archer. So just kind of a build up to the match that they were going to have on Dynamite this week, which I thought would be the main event. Didn't turn out that way, but
I'm really excited to see Lance Archer, progress through this tournament if we're going to keep getting these Jake the Snake Robert kind of promos. I didn't really. I can't help but see the parallels between Jake Roberts and Archer, like Heyman and Lesnar. It's a very similar kind of relationship, and Jake is doing a more heel take at what Heyman does, if you will. Like Heyman, we talked about it last week, how Chris Jericho and Heyman, they as they're insulting their competitors, they kind of gas them up. They give them their props that they're due. Where Jake's just straight up like, you have no chance, and I don't care what you did before, but it's not going to go well. And I kind of enjoy seeing that other side since we've seen this done. I like seeing this. So I'm excited. I can't wait for, according to my bracket, I can't wait to hear what he has to say about Kip Sabian. Your bracket, he's probably going to be talking about Dustin. So, I can't wait to see how this goes. And then when it comes to the final and he's up against Darby or Sammy Guevara, according to our brackets, I can't wait for that one. He is going to tear those little kids apart. It's going to be wrong. But
yeah,
I'm excited to see how.
He'd have a lot to say if it is Dustin. If it turns out that way, he'd have a lot that he could use. These other guys, he's really going to have to be creative because he's probably not going to know a lot about them.
Well, he's worked with Dustin, back in the day, early days of WWE, and even maybe even before that, when the territory system was still kind of a thing, I guess. But Darby and Sammy, those are. I'm sure he's never heard of them until he showed up to AEW. So he's gonna have to get creative on.
There's the angle right there, I guess.
Yeah.
Who are?
yeah, exactly. You're both 5'0" and under 200 pounds. What chance do you have? Well, they have Inner Circle. Darby's got Cody, according to my plan. So, I'm excited. I'm liking these little vignette promos with Jake. We've been saying it every week. He's the man.
He's not missing.
He's not missing. Yeah. We go right into that match. Colt Cabana versus Lance Archer. First round match of the TNT Championship tournament. We both had Lance Archer coming out of this match. As much as Colt Cabana is a bigger guy than the other, Marco Stunt and was his name Lee Anderson or something like that, the other matches that we've seen Lance Archer in, I still thought this was going to be a quick match. I still thought this was going to be a 5-minute just beat down of Colt Cabana, but Colt somehow got his goofy shtick in and he got some offense. I gave props to Lance Archer in this match for he sold the moves when he was getting striked. He was doing the head movement, but then he'd always come back and is that all you got? So he's still looking strong, but he's still giving Colt, he's not putting Colt in that same group as a Lee Anderson or Marco Stunt, which I thought was really good. Props to Archer on that. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, I think it's what it needed to be, and it's what we expected it would be. Other than maybe we thought it might be a squash match, but I guess in the end we got what we thought it was going to be, and that Lance Archer was going to stay strong, and he was going to win all the way. There's going to be no doubt about that. And I think at no point did I ever think that Colt Cabana was going to pull this one out.
Right. What did you think of Lance Archer doing the blackout move on a guy the size of Colt Cabana? That was really impressive.
Yeah, I was wondering at the beginning if that was going to happen. Just because, he is a big guy, but how much strength do you have to hold somebody that's, over 200 pounds up like that?
It's an awkward move. Breaking kayfabe a little bit here, you got to really rely on the guy who's taking the bump to get himself over, in the somersault kind of part of the thing. It's one thing to hold a guy up by his shoulders like that, but Lance Archer himself isn't really doing a lot of the work when it actually comes to the flip part of the move. So, right. And Colt Cabana is not the fittest guy that's ever been in the AEW wrestling ring. So, I don't know. I was just is he going to be able to? Are they going to be able to pull this off without dumping Colt Cabana on his neck? But it looked great, and it made a
he's a impact. Cabana's a pro. And one, it just reminded me what you're saying here. Of one thought I had during this match is it was almost like Colt was doing the moves too well.
Right.
So, like, go back and watch when Lance gives him that shoulder, charges at him with the shoulder, and Cabana falls, and he just falls like you would if it was, we're practicing falls
Right.
in the gym. Like it looked so
like
technically
John Cena.
perfect.
It was a John Cena bump. Like John Cena always has his arms out.
Yeah.
I land flat.
Like it didn't look vicious. It looked like very controlled and whatever. So yeah, I think you would expect Colt to do the moves very technically correctly.
Good call. As we move on through the show, we had a little pre-taped section with Britt Baker, just kind of elaborating on her match the previous week with Hikaru Shida. She had the breathe right strips on her nose because her deviated septum is blocked, and just keeping up that doctor gimmick. I liked all that.
She had my wife fooled.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's like, well, how is she even competing this week? She broke her nose. I'm like, yeah, she didn't really break her nose. It's fine.
Oh, you don't think that was legit color?
No, I think it was, but I don't think her nose was broken.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, no, I think she got tapped. I still don't. Do you know when that happened? Like, I have watched the replay of that.
I tried to find it. I can't see it.
Like, it happens right after the enziguri. She turns, and then you can see it dripping, but I don't see where she got hit in the nose. Like, I don't feel like that enziguri got her in the nose.
Oh, okay.
So, like, yeah, I don't know what actually made her bleed.
Right. Oh, maybe it wasn't work the whole time. Had me fooled. It looked legit to me.
How do you do a nose? How do you do nose spot?
Well, yeah, I don't know. The way that the kind of blood that was coming out of her face looked like if it was a work, it would have to be a blood packet.
Yeah.
If she covered up her face and popped one and just kind of, spread it down her mouth. But, I've never really gotten a nosebleed before. I've never been punched in the face. I always dodge it. So I don't know what the difference between, a nosebleed or a broken nose really looks like. So
yeah,
I can't really say.
I've got hit in the face with a golf club.
Oh,
it's a story for another time. But like, what that looked like what we saw there. So it looked like she had a real nosebleed. Now, if that was planned, it just makes it more brilliant.
Yes.
Because it totally made that match last week.
Oh, for sure. We talked about it last week, how this match, like, if it was as long as it was without the color, like, we would have tapped out. But the nosebleed just made the match. But we talked about all that before. What I wanted to ask you is that these rules of, Britt Baker's rules of how to be the face of the company, do you think we're going to get more? Are you wanting more? Or do you think this is a gimmick that might not last, much like Britt being on commentary?
I think it would have worked out better if we hadn't seen the rules on BTE. My first thought was just like, really? Is she ripping off the Matt Hardy thing?
Yes.
And I just couldn't help but have that in my mind while she was doing it. So, I don't know.
I got to think that's not her fault, though.
Maybe not. Maybe it was always planned to do it like this.
Well, I just think if anybody saw what they did on BTE and they're like, hey, that could work for Britt, like it wasn't Britt's idea, but she's going with it. She's making it work.
Yeah. I think they need to go. If you remember from Dark, Cody's like, I don't even think she's a real doctor. I think she's actually just a dental assistant.
Yes.
I think that's where they need to go and have maybe an angle with Brandy or something like that. Like that's an interesting.
Someone digs into her real life and try to get the truth on it.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
She's really not a doctor. I think that might be a good one, but
Not
I don't know. Do you think she's gonna do the rules more?
I think we're gonna see some more rules in the upcoming weeks. How to be the face of the company. Yeah. This week was how to fight fair. Next week's probably gonna how to dress properly or something like that. She's gonna make fun of. I don't know. I just think we're gonna get more. We're gonna get more rules to be in the face of the women's division.
Yeah.
So next on the list we have Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD in action. She's up against Cassandra Golden. This is a name that I don't remember hearing, but apparently we've seen her on an episode of Dark before. This is her Dynamite debut. I don't remember that. I feel like I've seen every episode of Dark, but I must have missed this week. But
she looked familiar to me, but I don't remember either.
Yeah, I had a hard time placing her. But, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this was a squash match for Britt Baker. She absolutely ran through this girl. What did you think of everything?
I thought it was good after the loss to Sheeta to come back with a strong match,
right?
For her character, and yeah, I like the ending of it. I feel like this is kind of her new finisher, this sort of curb stomp on the rope, kind of thing that she started with Zakazaki. So yeah, I thought it was a really good match. Good bounce back.
I like this rope stomp as a setup for the lockjaw, because you take that stomp in the back of the head, you're taking the bump in your jaw basically, and then she puts you in the submission to give you the mandible claw essentially with the submission, and I'm liking. It's a heel move, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I like the where she sits by them when they're kind of all slumped over the rope, and that's very heelish to me. Yeah. So she's doing the right things.
This whole match was quintessential heel Brit. She'd do a move, like there was the super kick, and then she just like sold how good that super kick was. She was like pantomiming to the crowd, and she's just relishing in her excellence and whatnot. Like it's
very early day Jericho.
Yes, very, very much. Yeah. So good things from Britt. Then we get, just before commercial break, we get this teaser of the Bubbly Bunch. Now, before the commercial, what are you thinking they're gonna do here? This was amazing. I was like, the Bubbly Bunch.
I didn't catch the teaser to it.
Oh, okay.
So then when it came to it, I was like really confused as what this was about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tony sold it just before the commercial break. He's like, we gotta go for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're gonna hear from the Bubbly Bunch, and they're doing the Brady Bunch thing. Jericho's at the top and he's looking down, and he's kind of, everybody's looking up. Like there's a bottle of bubbly in the middle. Like, oh my God, it was great. I'm like, what are they gonna do here? I was so excited. So when they came back from commercial break, it's basically just them on, like a Zoom call or a Skype call, whatever these kind of programs that we've been using for social distancing, but they're all on the conference calls from within their home, and I mean, this is just gold. This is more Inner Circle gold. Yeah.
Very BTE like sort of skit, and I liked it. I want to see it again for sure.
Jericho's been kind of progressing into the more comedic side of Jericho since the loss to Moxley. He's not I'm the champion and I need to, be the overruling figure over AEW because I am the champion. Now he's just, I'm le champion. And I do what I want. And he's going back into goofy kind of Jericho. And the guys he's got around him, Inner Circle, like feed off that. And all these guys can pull off the goofiness. As much as Jake Hager tries to play straight in this, it just comes off goofy because everybody else is so goofy.
It was the best part, I thought, was the Jake Hager part. I love when he's like, kids, earmuffs.
Yeah.
And they're like that. I want to see more of it. It's good stuff.
Yeah. And, Jericho is burning his eggs. And I like how he pours the juice and then it cuts to him spilling all over the place like he doesn't care. But as it cuts back, like it was obviously done after the fact. There was no juice on the stovetop whatsoever. I mean, the whole segment was good. I laughed. I enjoyed it. And like you said, I want to see more. I can't wait for the next bubbly bunch.
Yeah, me too.
As we get into the next segment of the show, we have the Dynamite debut of Pineapple Pete. I really enjoyed how, everything's been pre-taped. Like, this is known. But somehow, I don't know how they did this, if it was a coincidence or if it was planned. But last week, Jericho refers to Shug D wearing his Hawaiian t-shirt as Pineapple Pete. And the very next week, we have Sammy Guevara wrestling said Pineapple Pete to shut him up. And, I mean, this is just brilliant. Like, I don't know. It just boggles my mind how they pulled this off.
Yeah, like I guess we'd have to really analyze the footage to see, like, was that match where he made up the name Pineapple Pete, did this match follow it? So, it was just kind of luck how they could work that out. Or, was it planned? Like, did they sit down and make, 2-3 months of here's the guys we have, and this is how we're going to go with it? I'd like to say it was more of the first way, where it was kind of a happy accident. And I mean, we called it last week that this is likely something that's going to go forward as a very Chris Jericho thing. It got over. Yeah, people were talking about it online, so it had to come back with that.
Yeah, I mean, if this was written, I'd be thoroughly surprised. If it was written in the way where they were like, "Okay, Jericho, the camera's gonna get on Shug D, and he's wearing this t-shirt. Now you need to call him Pineapple Pete because, now he's gonna wrestle Sammy Guevara in a match to where he shuts him up, and it'll be great." Like, if that was all planned out, like, holy shit, like, it came off so natural, like, so organic for something that we know is pre-taped. Like, it was, you can't write this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it was amazing.
Now, in the last week, like in this week's episode, I don't know about last week, like, we're not seeing Jericho there. So are they there when they're doing the commentary, or is it dubbed over?
My guess is that they're dubbing it over.
Okay.
I got this.
So
inkling,
if they,
go
ahead.
I got this inkling that the commentary isn't happening live when, so the first week we went to no audience. The first week we went to the undisclosed location. It shows Cody and Tony standing outside of the ring, and there were some references, like the wrestlers were acknowledging them behind the hard camera, and then when it came to Jericho, they were like in front of this like sheet, or if you will, like a backdrop that is like AEW Dynamite and stuff like that, And for Sammy Guevara to come out and wrestle somebody and not point to Jericho or anything to acknowledge that he was commentating, like, I just feel like the commentary is being done studio style.
Yeah.
So,
and it would more follow because like Jericho's at home, right? He's doing the Saturday night Jericho show.
yes.
We're seeing the promos from his home. So for him to be in Georgia, like how is he able to travel and no other wrestlers are able to travel?
Yeah. It's a good point.
So there's sort of another. We need more evidence that it's dubbed over.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about this match. Sammy Guevara doing Sammy Guevara things. Very heel-centric match, much like Britt Baker. I did not like Shug D in his AEW debut on Dark. I thought he was loose and botchy, and I still don't like this guy.
I was fairly certain that's what I was going to hear from you this week.
This match was... He's not... I mean, Pineapple Pete might be selling T-shirts, but Shug D sucks. What did you happen to catch any of this match? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like he doesn't move well. He's not maybe as athletic as maybe he should be, but you know he's probably one of Marshall's students, and
yeah.
It's another match to throw in there, and I thought Sammy did really good to try to make it a match, just like I think it was Kip Sabian had him last time, and they're doing a good job of like making it a match. But yeah, it's not hitting. I was pretty bored with this one.
Highlight of the match for me was Sammy doing the Jericho pin. Like, that was the high spot of the match for me, which, I mean, I feel bad for Sammy because I do like Sammy and I think his matches are always entertaining, but even an entertaining guy like Sammy can't make a Shug D match watchable. I'm sorry to say, like,
he tried.
Did he though? Like, God. I have no wrestling training. I could have did a better match with Sammy than Shug D. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, I meant like Sammy really tried.
Oh, Sammy
to get
did
this
try.
match over.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, let's keep the show a-rolling as we get into probably the best match of the night for me. I really enjoyed this one. We had Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford versus Chucky T of the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. No Trent out here. I mean, I know you were all over this match with Penelope out there. What were you thinking during this match?
I mean, I'm a big Kip Sabian fan. I think he's super talented, and he's going to be around in AEW a long time. Will be a champion, at least a TNT champion at some point, I'm going to predict. I thought this was a good match. Chucky T, we've talked about him in the past of not being able to sort of last in these longer matches, but I thought he did a pretty good job, and everybody was involved.
Everybody got involved.
Yeah. And Penelope was part of really a huge part of the finish of this match.
So I'm gonna put this out here. Do you remember when we were watching Vanilla, and it's just like, man, you don't get the hot chick on the apron flashing the puppies kind of distraction anymore. And you're like, yeah, they don't do that anymore. I'm like, PG era, I guess, right? Well, if we didn't finally get that spot, and who better to do it than Penelope Ford, right? Like,
yeah,
this spot just worked so good, and Chucky T's just like, okay, hey, what's going on? And, and then he gets rolled up, and then Orange Cassidy comes around and tries to do the same thing. Like the whole last 2.5 minutes of this match were just pure wrestling gold. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I mean, as Aubrey Edwards, the ref, is distracted, Penelope comes in and she hits the Hurricane Rana. That's kind of her interference move. As the refs are distracted, she kind of always does this Hurricane Rana Frankensteiner type move, and Kip Sabian gets the win, I believe, right?
Yep, totally.
So I mean, like I said, this was the match of the night for me. And this is an AEW Dynamite with an AEW Championship match in it. So that just goes to say what we're going to talk about a little bit later. But this was the match of the night for me. Kip Sabian, great thing. I agree with everything you said about him. He will be a TNT champion. I feel like what's the term? Like, he's the workhorse right now. He's the one who they just rely on to come in and work with somebody, make it tolerable. More often than not, it's more than watchable. Like it's almost always a good match. Kip he's a workhorse, and they're putting all their eggs in his basket right now. I feel like they're keep going back to him. He's wrestling on Dark. He's had a match on Dynamite every week. Kip's the man, and once we get through this, I hope they reward him properly.
Well, and you know what? I think Jericho might even get these guys even more over than they are, Kip and Penelope.
Yeah.
Because he made a reference to them being the power couple.
Power couple.
So this could be a thing now. I mean, I think we're going to say that every time Jericho says something, it could be like the next big thing. But it could be kind of the angle that gets him, more to maybe these main event matches, which I think, like you're saying, they deserve.
Yeah. I mean, Penelope too. Like, don't sell Penelope short. She's doing her part too. And yeah, I'm really liking the power couple. Like you said, we almost say this every week, that anytime Jericho could say someone's boots are unlaced, and that would be the top selling shirt on Pro S&Ts that week. So just goes to show the power that Chris Jericho has. But Kip and Penelope definitely deserve everything that they're working for right now. I'm enjoying it. We get into another match. This was Sean Spears in action. He's coming up against another jobber, Justin Law. Have we seen Justin Law before?
No, I don't think we had.
I don't think we have either. Anyways, Sean Spears versus Justin Law. This was, again, squash match. It was almost filler match for me. It was just like, which I find weird. Like, this very well easily could have been on Dark this past week.
Yes, and we're actually getting an extra match here on Dynamite. So we usually have the 5. So it was interesting that this was put in here. But I actually like that there was more matches and less of the video packages that they've been doing in the last couple of weeks. So I didn't actually mind it.
I wonder if that was the decision. Like, I've been enjoying the video packages, kind of filling up the extra time to get us to that 2-hour mark. God forbid, I can't imagine what Vanilla's doing right now, trying to fill up 3 hours on Raw every Monday. But like you said, I kind of agree. Like, hey, it was kind of nice to see the changing gears, and let's throw another wrestling match in there instead of having another 15 minutes of promos. So I agree. It was fine the way they did it. This match was really cool. Sean Spears kind of playing into that role of, like, who is this guy? He's kind of a debut. I'll kind of, here, let me get down on all fours. Let's have a wrestling match. And then he almost gets pinned on it. And he's like, oh, what the hell? Like, everything that they kind of did in this match was really neat. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it wasn't bad at the same time. I enjoyed it. I mean, we've said it before. Sean Spears, anything Sean Spears does is pretty much gold.
Yeah.
The guy's killing it. Another one of those workhorses that I hope gets rewarded for his work in this time after everything's over.
Kip Sabian, Sean Spears for TNT Championship at some point. Yeah,
we could see that. What I don't know if we have ever really mentioned this before, but what do you think of the C4, Sean Spears finisher? What do you think of this running DVD Death Valley Driver kind of finisher? Do you think it suits Sean or?
Yeah, I'm kind of in between. I think he could do better. Like, he's a better wrestler. He could have a better, kind of fancier move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he reminds me a lot of like Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
Same body style, like very athletic. Like, he could have a perfect plex type of move. So I don't know. What do you think about it?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Like, for a big guy like that, and someone who we know is technically as technically sound as Sean Spears is, for him to do kind of a high spotty move, this running Death Valley Driver, I feel like a more traditional, like you said, perfect plex, fisherman suplex into the pin would suit him so much more. I mean, we know he does do the sharpshooter because he's Canadian, and every Canadian wrestler does a sharpshooter. I'd like to see that more. Like, pull the sharpshooter back out. No one else. And I mean, the Young Bucks pull it out from time to time, but they rip off everybody. That's their gimmick.
Yeah.
But I think something more traditional would suit Sean Spears better. But at the same time, he is a heel. He is working a heel angle, so maybe
like you say, they're missing bigger guys, so maybe he's trying to do that bigger guy
type move.
You know, because it's a very Lesnar type move.
Yeah, you're coming off the torture rack, and you know, it's kind of that running Death Valley Driver. I'd almost think if he did it more like Velveteen Dream does. You know how he kind of does the handstand out of it, pops out of it, but then again, now you're losing your image of a heel almost, like, because you're almost too flashy now. You know, so,
right?
I don't know. It's a delicate situation, but I just wanted to bring that up to see what you thought of the C4. Let's move into the main event of the evening. AEW Championship match. No holds barred, empty arena. Jon Moxley the champion, Jake Hager the challenger, and I fell asleep.
This wasn't a good match. For as good as they built it up, like one of, I would say, the better build-ups of this sort of modern era of wrestling.
Yes.
Like, I was really into it with all the promo packages and everything, and you know, Moxley, he's starting to train and to combat this MMA fighter, and then it just didn't come off.
So, you know, I couldn't help but think while I was watching this match, I couldn't help but think the night after Revolution, and that, what was that, like episode 4 of the podcast, and we were like, man, Jake Hager doesn't look good, and all this stuff, and then a couple weeks later we see that they're starting to tease this Hager Moxley. That might be where they're going, and we kind of called it, like, yeah, this is probably the feud they're going with. That's gonna suck, you know. Hager's not quite there yet. You know, how will he work with Moxley? I mean, we called this match was gonna suck a month and a half ago, but then the build happens. And as the build happens, we get more excited about it, and we're like, yeah, this match is going to actually be good. It's going to be, you know, bloodbath and all this stuff. And then they didn't deliver on that, and it was just so disappointing. That's the word I would choose. Describe this word in one match: disappointing.
I don't even think you can say it's because there was no fans.
It wasn't.
It would have been a little bit better But yeah, when you're expecting, they're talking about like, bones are going to be broken and, they're going to beat the hell out of each other. I don't think we saw that.
No holds barred match. We had 2 chair shots, and one was a throw-in chair. Yeah, they went out onto the concrete. Moxley took some big bumps onto the cement. I mean, like, I heard that guy's bones crack as he lands on the cement, but I mean, Moxley, that's par for the course for that guy. But, like, where were the chair shots? Where were the table spots? Where were, I wanted to see people being choked by camera wires and, like,
Yeah.
you kind of just did a little stroll through Daly's place and, did this piss poor version of the ring post figure 4 on the inch wide steel railing of the handrail. Like, I don't know, everything about this match just came off really bad.
Yeah.
And even the finish was just garbage. Like, I don't know, I just disappointed.
Yeah. I think that's all we can say about like this. You don't even have to analyze it. It was not good.
No, it wasn't. It's unfortunate.
And it was long too. Like, I want to
so
say
long.
it was at
half
least 4 segments, if not 5.
Well, yeah, we saw 3.
I was just like, wow, another set of commercials?
Yeah,
Wow.
we saw 3 commercial breaks. What did you think of JR doing the commentary instead of Jericho and Shivani?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So I don't know, what does that tell us? That this was actually filmed like at least 3 weeks ago, if not like a month ago.
Well, yeah, when was the last time we saw them in Daly's place? That's about 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. That might have made it better having Jericho in there. It would have been a little bit more. Not that JR is bad. Maybe it would have been a little bit more entertaining because JR is pretty straight.
Well, the question I had with that is, well, if JR's there, yeah, I mean, well, not there, but I mean, if he's watching the match remotely doing commentary, where's Excalibur? Like, why couldn't we have had Excalibur? At least there would have been that extra dimension of 2 people having a conversation about the match. But no, we just have JR doing barbecue sauce ads while he's watching a wrestling match. Like, it was just, I don't know.
Yeah. It was interesting. I can't say they got good feedback on that.
I can't think that match did very well.
Yeah, your buddy there, Jason Corvette.
Jason Corvette.
I can't say he's going to have anything good to say about it. And it sucks that we'll probably have to agree with him on this one.
Oh, man. 2 weeks in a row, right?
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible news. Either way, let's start closing up the show here. It was a big week of wrestling. We had a lot to talk about. There was a lot of bad news, not a lot of good news. You got to stay positive through this time. I try to give AEW the benefit of the doubt. They're dealing with the situations like we said. That match was kind of boring, but I mean, they're doing the best they can. I'm sure they'll make up for it. What do you think the next few weeks hold leading into Double or Nothing hold for AEW?
Yeah, I don't know that I could really make any predictions right now, just because I think we have to see different people. They can't do Double or Nothing with the Dynamite crew they have right now. I can't see people buying it.
It'll just end up looking like a glorified Dynamite, really.
Yeah.
Especially with no build.
Yeah. I think the exciting thing right now is BTE and those guys.
Been the highlight of the weeks for us. BTE.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. These are very creative people that are working for this company. They're trying things. They're dealing with what they're given. They're playing with the hands they're dealt. They're doing a good job. I'm still looking forward to watching wrestling on Wednesday nights. Which is the main thing. As much as we've been a little more negative these last few weeks towards the show, but I mean, we're just being real. We're just calling it how we see it as fans, which is what this podcast is all about. So I think they'll come back with something really great. Hopefully, this build leading into Double or Nothing is creative. It's good, and it gets us excited. And hopefully, they don't lose out on too many pay-per-view buys for this event. It's gonna be weird. I feel like the wrestling fan as a whole are getting a little bit bored with the no fan environment. I think the novelty is starting to wear off. Ratings are dropping. AEW's ratings are dropping. NXT ratings are dropping. Raw's ratings are dropping. Like, everything's kind of going downhill right now. It's kind of a dark time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I have faith in Tony Khan. I have faith in Cody. I have faith in the AEW roster. I still think it's the superior product right now. And that's all we
Maybe
can
they're
say.
just saving it.
Yeah.
They're just saving it for Double or Nothing.
Yeah, hopefully. So that was a good show. It actually wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be, which is good news. So make sure to like, subscribe, leave us some comments below on what you think the wrestling world needs to do better, what they need to, what they're doing good and all that stuff. And we will comment on all comments we are given. We want to engage in conversations, like I said at the beginning of the show. Thanks for watching, and, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
And fuck you, Jason Corvette.